Welcome everyone to Carmance episode 3 of season 2. I'm Stephen Horowitz, and today we're showing the cars of John Milliken, a member of the Classic Car Club of America. And here we are in his home in California. So John, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've actually been in this hobby for quite a long time. In fact, I'm thinking back, it's 60 years since I bought my very first car, which is a collector car. It was a 39 LaSalle convertible. I bought it off of my father's car lot on weekends when he was off the lot, and we drive him around the 3 acres he had behind his car lot. So I got tuned into those.
And then did you learn maintenance on the cars, how to take good care of the antique cars?
Yeah, we'd come out here, and he didn't know necessarily I'd be out there tuning up one of those cars and making it run. But he didn't care, and he didn't pay us, so do what I want. But anyway, I love the simplicity of the car. The girls loved it when I was in high school. I got to drive around the homecoming, around the ball field,
parade
area. One day, I'm driving through Hope Ranch in the LaSalle, top down. Some guy flashes his lights at me, wants me to pull over. And this middle-aged fellow gets out of a new car and says, "I've been admiring this car. I've seen you drive through Hope Ranch before." He says, "I love this car. I want to buy it." Right there on the spot, I sold it to him for $600, doubled my money, and got 3 years of use out of it.
Exactly. So, can't beat that.
Yeah, it was a wonderful.
That's a good introduction to the antique car hobby.
Well, I had I used my dad's dealer license to go to the auto auctions, and I bought cars. And I like those little T-Birds. You get them for $800. Detail them out, sell them for $1,200. And that's all I needed for college back then.
Now those same cars can go for $40,000.
Oh, yeah. And I particularly like Corvettes and T-Birds.
Right.
And Cadillac convertibles.
Yeah.
So I had a number of them, and I worked on all of them. So I learned a lot. I've probably restored, I think, 40 cars or so. Only about 6 of them that were frame off, though.
Wow.
Including this one.
And how did you become a pilot?
Oh, yeah. Well, Vietnam was looming, and I'm going to go to Air Force pilot training. It's going to be 3 months officer training and 13 months pilot training. The war will be over.
Right.
Didn't work out that way. I did 2 tours in Vietnam. I flew transports in 1969, and B-52 bombers, the second tour. I happened to unfortunately be there when Nixon decided to bomb the North again.
Oh.
And I got in on about a dozen of them before they sent me to train pilots that they were bringing over to Guam. And they were used to the late model, the B-52s that were for nuclears, not the conventional bombers. So I got sent to Guam. We had 12-hour missions, but since they were green crews, we didn't do over North Vietnam. So, but then I got Delta. I got hired by Western. 10 years later, Delta bought Western Airlines, so I became a Delta pilot for my final 18 years. We got transferred to Portland, and I realized that the Pacific Northwest is very active in cars. The Oregon region I joined the Pac Northwest region, a classic car club from Seattle, got involved in caravans. I met my mentor, a man named Dave McCready, who liked to restore cars. He was a retired truck driver. And I didn't just own American cars. I owned NGs, Alfa Romeo, Triumph, 1 Rolls-Royce Silver Cloud, and Austin Healey. So, but my favorite car are convertible sedans, primarily from GM. I've owned 8 or 9 of them, restored, and from Packard, Buick, and Cadillac. We shipped cars. We shipped our 39 Cadillac Fleetwood to Europe and toured the month of June 2 years in a row with the Cadillac Club of France. And that was a lot of fun, very reliable. My son was about 10 or 11 at the time, so he got some good experience in that country.
And you didn't have any trouble shipping it with customs and whatnot, and then coming back to the country?
I didn't for that. It was simple and cheap. But I got a story on this one when we get to it.
Okay.
That's not so simple and cheap.
This is not the one that went to India?
India.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So anyway, I got very involved in the hobby, but I also got involved in writing. I've written over 60 articles, various club magazines, mostly club, but other judging. And I've got quite a record of judging, you might say. I've judged the Santa Barbara concourse as chief judge 2 times.
And ever in Pebble Beach?
I put a car in Pebble Beach,
Okay.
the 39 Cadillac Fleetwood convertible. I had a German partner in that, so
Oh, okay.
we actually, when we shipped it to Europe, he went with us on with one of his old cars. But he and I were partners in that. I restored it, and he flipped the bill for it. So it was a nice deal for us. Yeah, and they came over and did caravans, and I've gone over there and driven his cars, including Ferrari Testarossa, through the Dolomites at one point. So it was a lot of fun.
Okay, so tell us more about this Buick Roadmaster.
Okay. As you'll see, my favorite cars are the convertible sedans, specifically those made by General Motors. General Motors had a knack of making a massive top like this, put it down, and it stays flat. It doesn't stack up like European cars. Sometimes they'll stack up 2 or 3 feet. Yeah. I started getting abandoned restorations, and that's what this was. Some fellow up in Portland has spent over $130,000 on this car in a restoration shop, and it was only 2/3 done. Fortunately for me, it was the dirtiest 2/3. The part you least like doing, like cleaning chassis and doing body work and the mechanical work. But it was all in pieces. It came with 7 crates. And I bought her from the dealer, Tom Crook, up in Des Moines, Washington. He called me, and he knew I loved convertible sedans, and he says, "John, this is a deal." And this car had about 170 grand. I got it for 45, put another 50 into it. But when I opened up those crates, Tom Crook had never looked in there. I saw a beautifully restored dash, all the convertible top chrome, everything in there, all the instrumentation all redone. I mean, I figured that would have been another $30,000 or so if I had to do it.
Just to have those parts, yeah.
So anyway, this car has done very well in the shows. It got Best of Show at Beverly Hills a number of years ago for pre-war. It's got 100 points classic car rating. And earlier this year, we shipped the car to New Delhi. I was invited to show it at the 21 Gun Salute show in New Delhi, and then we toured with it for a while. These 15th century palaces that were converted to luxury hotels, and it was paid for. And then we had all these Maharajas had huge car collections as well. So
this Buick looks so fancy. It looks, what's the difference between this and the Cadillac of the same year?
Oh, that's an interesting question. They can't be any more different. The Cadillac has a flathead V8 engine, and the Buick is an overhead valve straight 8. They only made 311 of these, and I've been able to account for 13 surviving, but only 3 that have had this level of restoration. One of them belonging to General William Lyon down in south of here, Orange, I think.
Yeah, he just passed away recently.
Yeah, he did. He had a wonderful collection. In fact, he let me take a lot of pictures of that when I was doing this, because I didn't have any patterns for the upholstery. All I had was 6 hides of leather. Now it gets easy. I use this overdrive as 4th gear, and I just have a toggle switch under the dash.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I put the clutch in as if it's a gear. Buick always had one-off dashes. This dash was only for 1939.
Oh, each year they would change?
Yeah, it seemed like it.
Wow.
40 and 41 were similar with the what do they call it, engine turn dash,
Yes.
Damascene. Yeah. But this, you know, you can restore cars, and if they were abused cars, they never do drive right. I've had a couple that way. And this car, it was obviously a well-kept car because there's almost no play in the steering. It drives like a beautiful luxury train. And on the road, there's nothing better. 133-inch wheelbase. My Cadillac is 126-inch wheelbase. So wheelbase has a lot to do with it. The weight has a lot to do with it. And Buick had the very first turn signals.
Oh.
Right here. If I put it on, you see it flashing.
Right.
It doesn't self-cancel.
Right.
And it's not on the taillights, it's on the Buick emblem in the back.
Oh.
Now I'm going to go into overdrive. And you can see the lower RPM right away.
Yes, definitely you can feel it. But it's a nice smooth ride, and
It's
the old expression, like it drives like a Cadillac.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's got one of the prettiest steering wheels ever put in a car too. Looks like something out of Flash Gordon, or those old those radio speakers that they used to have back in the 30s.
Yeah, old Art Deco styling.
Yeah. The dash looks dark and black, but it's actually a dark walnut green, as are these little side pieces too. Once I put it in overdrive, I don't have to take it out unless I back up. Really, it gives me 6 speeds. We're gonna head out to Hidden Valley, which is very close. One of the reasons I bought this house when we decided to move from Oregon down here, we actually moved down here because I couldn't hold captain on the jumbo jet up in Portland. It was too senior. But
Right.
I could hold captain on the 767 down here, so we moved. And
So-
our son was only 2 at the time, and this is where his grandparents lived.
Well, how long did it take you to get to LAX from here?
It's exactly 40 miles. So, you know, you got to plan on it.
Right. That's with no traffic.
Yeah. Someone tailgating me, so.
Oh.
But it's a wonderful car on the road, and it's quite reliable. The engine was done very well. It's an overhead valve straight 8, 320 cubic inches, and 135 horsepower.
It's probably the same engine they had in the early 50s, the Buicks.
Yeah, actually until on the Roadmaster they had it until I think it was 53 they went to a V8.
Right.
I had a 53 station wagon, Woody. The last Woody made in America was Buick in 1953. Now we're on Potrero Road. This goes for about 8 miles till you hit the old Caneo grade. Sherwood Lake got its name. It used to be called, I think it was called Sucker Lake. And it got its name because they filmed 1920s Tarzan. Now see here, I'm going to put it out of overdrive for the line.
Robin Hood they would have filmed.
Yeah.
After that.
In fact, that horse park we just went by on the left, they used it in scenes. But they changed the lake from Sucker Lake to Lake Sherwood. And then it tends to lean when you turn.
Yeah, they don't have those magnetic levitation shock absorbers.
Yeah. This is what they call hidden hills. And like I said, you got to have 20-acre or 40-acre lands to build here. So it's always going to be this way.
Wow.
I hope. This was the selling point. When I sent Leslie down here from Portland for 8 months. She'd go seek out realtors, and we looked all over the place. Then we found this, and I said I could exercise my cars without stoplights.
Right.
And it's beautiful out here. Yeah, this is all horse country, yeah.
So this is the entrance to Sherwood Country Club.
I have a transponder on my husband.
Only by marriage.
Only by marriage. I assume so, but I wasn't sure.
46 years.
Oh, wow. I just did 35.
So tell us about this 2003 Corvette 50th anniversary car.
Well, I've always enjoyed Corvettes. I've had 7 or 8 of them in my life, mostly 58 to 62, which were my high school years. However, when I was in the Air Force in Del Rio, Texas, I got bored one day with 3 other guys, and we drove to San Antonio and all bought new Corvettes. This was 1967. So then I had a string of the older ones, the C1s, for a number of years. Well, I retired in 2004. When the 50th anniversary came out, I thought it's time to buy myself a present, a retirement present. So I was flying out of John Wayne Airport one day, and I came home and saw a Corvette on the roof of the dealership. And I drove in. I'm still in my airline uniform, so I walk in, and the salesman started swarming. And I said, I want that car on the roof if it's a stick shift. And the first salesman said, no, it's an automatic. So I started to walk away. And the other dealer came out and said, no, it's a stick shift, and we'll get it down for you. So I ended up leaving my little BMW convertible there and driving this home, showing it to my wife. And she was fine with it.
Yeah.
My wife, Leslie's always been good. She's a flight attendant for Delta.
Yeah, it's
in
a wonderful
Cancun
car
right now.
Yeah, luckily she likes it.
So this is the 50th anniversary. It's not particularly rare, but it's the best looking, I think, of all the anniversary editions.
Cars, yeah.
The rear track is wider than the front track, isn't it?
I don't know. Does it look like it?
Maybe it's just the illusion of the fenders. It sure looks like it.
Now, as I already mentioned, I've been a long time fan of General Motors convertible sedans, and the top was up on the Buick, but on this top you can see how flat it is and what your visibility is. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've seen European cars where they're stacked up so high, you have better visibility top up than top down.
Yeah, even the Rolls-Royce Corniche convertible from the 70s and 80s, it was stacked pretty high.
41 Cadillacs have become the most popular car in the Classic Car Club because they're like a modern car. They're easy to drive. You can get factory air in sedans. You can get a power top, and you can get turn signals, self-canceling turn signals even. Comfortable radio heater, and a very nice ride.
Yeah, very comfortable.
I helped a friend, Jerry Hanaska, in Portland, Oregon, when I lived up there, find this car, and I helped him restore it, getting the right materials and stuff like that. He died in 2007. And I restored the car with him in the early 90s.
Now, did he do the wood graining on the dash?
Actually, at the time he owned it, he painted the dash red, the heater red, and he, as I said earlier, he put a tonneau cover on it because he drove it top down. And all these things were little things for the tonneau.
That's a regular artist who has to do the wood graining.
Well, yeah. I have a friend in Vancouver, Washington, just across the river from Portland, who did that. When I got the car, his daughters offered it to me in 2008, a year after he died, and I bought it.
Yeah.
And I put a new top on it, a new correct top. He put a cheap top on because he always wanted to drive it top down. So I put a correct line top on it, pulled the dash, and sent it out to be wood grained by my friend
Yeah,
over in
beautiful.
Vancouver, Washington.
Let's take a look under the hood.
What do they call this? Goddess of Speed, I think they call
Yes,
her.
yeah, Goddess of Speed.
Also the hood latch. And unlike the Buick with big old long straight 8 overhead, they used this engine from 1936 to 48.
Yeah. And they used these in the Sherman tanks
Yep,
during
they
World
sure
War
did.
II.
That's how they perfected their hydromatic transmissions too.
Yeah, one on each side.
Yeah. But they're very quiet, very smooth, a lot of torque. And, you know, it's 135 horsepower, which doesn't seem like a lot, but a long stroke
Very nice.
is quite powerful.
And it looks detailed. Was this car in any famous Hollywood movies?
I've had it in a Netflix movie called Hollywood, and it was in, for a while it was in, what's the name of that World War II hero who was a race? Unbroken? Yeah, Unbroken 2. He was a World War II hero, survived. He was a Olympian.
You and I were both in.
It was
Yeah.
Unbroken
Packard
too.
movies.
Yeah, I don't even remember what that movie, I never saw that movie. It looked like it was going to be a Christmas movie.
I think
Is
it
it?
was a TV series.
Oh, featured
Yeah.
car in it too.
Yeah.
But they're wanting to put this in. Paramount's going to start this baseball movie. Build it and they will come.
Lou Gehrig or something?
No, it's a. He had it.
Tell us about some of your hobbies.
Well, as many of us might know, when you start into the car collection hobby, either you had another hobby before that, but you're for sure going to get into other ones. For me, it was collecting sales brochures for all the cars I've owned. But then I went to watches. For a time I collected radios. I only have 1 or 2 of those left because they took up too much shelf space.
Any transmitters like ham radios?
No, and I never got into that. But another thing too is these collections, these are primarily 1/24 scale and they're done by Franklin Mint. I guess I've got 40 or 50 of them scattered around the house. And they're wonderful little things to collect. Some of these cars I've owned. I've owned the Corvettes, all of these Corvettes I've
Is that
owned.
the 50th anniversary?
The one outside is its 50th anniversary, and right here is the replica to it, and that's the coupe model. So since I bought a new one in 2003, I still have it. That was my retirement gift to myself, but we'll do that.
Okay, tell us about these two.
Well, about 15 years ago, I owned these 2 cars. I had a 48 Packard Woody that I restored myself and a 39 Cadillac 4-door convertible that I found in the backyard of a Sacramento home. And I met a guy who liked to do carved wood models. So I sent him photographs and he sent these back to me.
Oh, so these are
And
handmade
they're
wood models.
one
of the
off
cars.
each of them. I even have a hard convertible top for this one, but it's going into summer now. So top down. So
Now that Woody wagon, did that have a famous provenance? Someone who owned it?
no, this one did. This 39 Cadillac was originally owned by C.S. Howard. C.S. Howard was the West Coast Buick distributor, but he also was most well known for owning Seabiscuit, the famous racehorse. And post-season, he was the first owner who was actually on loan to him from Cadillac. And he had a ranch out in Oakdale near Yosemite. And that's where Seabiscuit would win after it won all the races.
Oh.
And he used to pull Seabiscuit with this car.
Wow.
And it had the damnedest trailer hitch on it. It was a railroad tie welded to the inside of the bumper with a hitch on it. And it took me about 2 weeks to saw that thing off. I didn't want to weld it and warp the bumpers. But anyway, that was its provenance. And I bought it from the original named owner, a guy named Gwen Van Seal, who lived in Oakdale. And he had just bought a 41 Pontiac convertible. Didn't like it. Drove by the Cadillac dealership and saw this car. Yeah. Didn't even trade. And he kept it for the rest of his life. And I got it in 1982, I think.
Wow.
I found it. in his
Okay,
back.
so this is another hobby of yours, antique clocks.
Yes, as I stated earlier, the antique car hobby pretty much evolved into some other hobbies too. Watches and clocks. This happens to be an 1886 Seth Thomas. And when I got it, I even got the sales brochure with it.
Wow.
Verifying its model number and the year. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I have some other antiques, but my wife's not quite as interested as I am. So most of them went
Right.
when we got married.
Exactly.
But I've kept a few.
Yeah, and it's in working condition.
I got this from a 45-year best friend,
Wow.
one of my college professors.
Does it need a workshop manual to keep it in shape?
No, and it's infinitely adjustable.
Right.
And it's all wood in the back of it.
Right.
And yeah, you can even see all the scrapings where over the last 140 years, people set the key.
Oh, yeah, right.
So.
Okay, so tell us about the cabinet here.
Okay, this cabinet dates from the early 18th century, so that would be in the 1700s, and is made of butternut. And butternut is a kind of a rare wood. They used to grow a lot bigger, and they take a long time to grow, so getting large pieces, like for the cabinets here, would have been harder to get in modern day. So, but it's my liquor cabinet right now, and it works out well. Oh, here's just a couple of my watches from my watch collection too. It's kind of a mess. I'm wearing one here, a 1947. I can't read. Oh, Movado, 1947 Movado. Yeah.
That's neat.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I got a Gruen Curve X here. That's kind of neat too. I had a National Geographic ad on this one, and it's from 1944, which is my birth year. And see the gentle curve on it?
Oh, yeah, to match your wrist.
And here's a cool one. This is a Boulevard, about a 1948 or 9, and you could get them in different colors, green, amber, blue, whatever. And I found this at a swap meet up in Mendocino, not at an antique store.
Fabulous.
Yeah. And I've got some other. This is a 1959 Benris. I won this car at a Travis McClellan Air Force Base bingo game. It was $75, and it was 1959. I was a foreign exchange student in Marseille, France, and I took it and wore it, and it had the French flag colors on it too, so people liked it.
Yeah, that's neat.
I got a lot of history with this.
Was that when you were flying there?
Well, my father was a pilot at McClellan Air Base. That's why I grew up in Sacramento. And, you know, my mom would take us kids out to the pool and bingo at the, officers club.
Right.
And,
That's right.
and I admired this watch, and I won it. It was the top prize. And I was only, 14, maybe 15.
That's fabulous.
So, yeah, I wear it quite often.
So here's how he can keep several great cars in his garage.